Welcome to the Wedding Celebrant Show with me, Lisa Flant, an independent wedding celebrant living and working in the beautiful county of Cornwall. On the show, I'll be sharing insights, tips and a confession or two, as well as chatting to some amazing wedding professionals along the way. So if you're planning a wedding, or if you're a professional wedding celebrant, or perhaps you're just interested in some behind-the-scenes gossip, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to episode 2. Thank you so much for joining us. This week, we are talking all about wedding planners. And for this show, I am delighted to introduce you to Caroline Griffiths. Those of you who already know Caroline, you will know she really is a force of nature. She owns and manages one of the leading bridal boutiques in Cornwall. She is the host and planner for all wedding and celebrations at the gorgeous country estate that is Beconian House. And she also runs her own wedding and events planning business. And back in 2020, when she and I first met, she decided to join us on an occasional basis as a wedding celebrant. So a very big, warm welcome to you, Caroline.
Hello. Hi. Nice to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Really well.
Awesome. Now, I know we're mid-season and life is crazy, but I don't think I know a busier person than you. And especially as in addition to juggling all those businesses I just mentioned and your ever-growing success, you are also a mum to 3 young boys too. So how do you manage it?
Oh, do you know what? I get asked this question a lot, Lisa. And truth be known, I don't know. Life is just fast paced. I don't stop. I rarely sleep. Life is one big whirlwind at the moment with the boys being so young, and often laugh at myself if couples could see the reality of my life sometimes. And it can go from joining a call with a couple or a client, rushing off to A&E because one of the twins has stuck a marrow pea up their nose. So yeah, it's fast paced, but the little spare time I do have, it's either sort of doing DIY or just stopping the boys from killing each other. But I do have amazing parents, so they are very much involved in the childcare. Rick, my Rick husband, is also really supportive. So, but I'm a workaholic and I love my job, so I'd get bored if I had one business.
Does this mean there are others in the pipeline, or are you kind of quite happy now?
Oh, what more children? Or?
No, more jobs.
Oh, more jobs. Oh, gosh. Well, yeah, definitely not more children. More jobs. We shall see. Watch this space.
Okay. I was going to say, we might save that for another episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so for this episode, I would like to dive in and ask you all about wedding planning, because for lots of people, the only knowledge they've got about wedding planners, it's what they get from TV and from films. And I know that was definitely the case for me when I started out. So I wanted to start by asking you about some of the popular opinions about wedding planners. So you up for that?
Absolutely. Fire away.
Cool. Okay, so the first one, and I think this is quite a big misconception, but you tell me, wedding planners only ever work with rich people.
Oh, okay. Well, look, I mean, many people mistakenly believe that wedding planners are just for the rich. And whilst an experienced wedding planner won't be cheap, our skills, our expertise could actually end up saving you money. Nowadays, I would say I would work with more savvy couples who realise they're just super busy people and they just need some help. So, wedding planners offer invaluable planning advice. So when it comes to making those big decisions, I think couples are finally realising it's not just an investment, but it's a necessity.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think certainly in the 6 or 7 years I've been working, I've seen more people using planners. It's not just the people who have got £20,000-30,000 to spend on a wedding. It's about going, actually, this is a really good investment. Would you agree with that?
Totally. I think every couple has a very different priority to what they want in their day. So, I think they're definitely being used in different ways now, for sure.
Cool. Okay, so here's my next popular opinion. Wedding planners and wedding coordinators are exactly the same thing.
No. So wedding coordinators will look at logistics only. Their focus is operational and seeing the day through. Wedding planners is much more in depth. We will work with the couples for sometimes 2-3 years ahead. So we're fully invested in their day. We look at the theme, we look at the vision and the feel of it. We support the couples through the planning process. So it's very, very different. Think of the planner that it creates the vision and the coordinator will make it happen. But obviously a wedding planner, we will cover both of these.
Right, great. Okay, that's a really good explanation. And just to take this on another step, are wedding planners the same as venue coordinators?
No. So I have this crossover actually a lot with Baconian, which is probably why some of my couples get far more than they do with other venues. But venue coordinators, they work for the venue. So they have an interest in ensuring that the wedding takes place from a venue point of view. So they will normally meet and greet you. They might move some chairs from the ceremony to reception, coordinate the parking, and depending on the venue, they may help the usher guests from A to B. A wedding planner, again, is more detailed. We're involved in the prep even before you get to the venue. So we manage the suppliers, we'll lay tables, styling, we work through the logistics, checking the accommodation, and generally be on hand for any job. So I think a wedding planning being fully involved in the little details, where a venue coordinator just focuses on logistics.
Excellent. Okay, so the next one's a bit more controversial. So wedding planners will only recommend suppliers and venues that will give them a financial kickback. And I mentioned this one because it's happened to me. I came across a planner and she said, well, if somebody books you, because I've recommended you, you must pay me a fee. And in a way, I kind of get it. I don't have a problem with it. But I also think it's really weird because if I work with somebody who's good, I'm going to recommend them and I wouldn't expect a kickback. So you tell me, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, Lisa. It's not my thing at all. Personally, I don't take any commission from my suppliers, nor do I ask for a fee. So I put suppliers forward because I generally think that they will be an amazing fit for my clients. So I guess it's probably slightly different for wedding planners to recommend suppliers, as it's what we do, rather than, yourself recommending a photographer or another supplier. It doesn't sit with me. I work with the best suppliers and they don't need £25 to secure a job. And these costs generally get passed across to the client. So you're basically getting paid twice. So it's probably a bit more of a control thing, I think.
Yeah, so I think that means that couples can kind of feel quite sure that you're recommending somebody because, as you said, they're a good fit and that you would recommend them. Your reputation's on the line and it's not that you're getting some cash back for it.
100%. Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right. This one makes me laugh. Wedding planners are control freaks and are always stressed out.
Oh, do you know what? I think if my husband was answering this, it could be a different answer. That's not the case with me at all. I mean, I'm super chilled when I'm running a wedding. I get comments about this a lot, actually. And, why are you doing that job? It seems so stressful. The truth is, yes, there can be some heated moments from couples leading up to the day. It's a big day, there is lots of expense. And having worked in the industry for a while, you've seen most scenarios. So I think it's really important to note that an experienced wedding planner will never, ever show a couple or guests that they're stressed. Okay. We deal with so much emotion from parents, guests. You have to take it in your stride. So I think, again, an experienced wedding planner will have a solution. And, it's likely happened before or similar. And it's about quick thinking, problem solving. And this is also where having the right suppliers is key, and because you have to work together. And I would generally say if a wedding planner is stressed, they either haven't worked enough weddings or comfortable enough in the role. As far as being a control freak, I think there are some wedding planners out there that maybe like the sound of their own voice. For me, it's not what I do. Yes, I'm there to coordinate. So technically, yeah, I'm in charge. But working with professionals who are all amazing at what they do. So it's ensuring that you're okay, that, that they're okay and they can deliver. So wedding planner's role is not just about running the wedding, it's managing the guests, the suppliers, and all of their expectations.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll never call you a control freak again.
Please don't.
Okay, right. A couple more for you. The next one, hiring a wedding planner really isn't worth the cost.
Well, obviously, I am not going to agree with that, Lisa. I think you really have to think about what it is you want for the day and what's important. You hire professionals for every element of the day. Photographers, caterers, celebrants, entertainment, and you spend all this money and a lot of time planning this amazing day for what? So you don't want somebody professional that's going to make sure that your day runs smoothly. But, the budget does make a big difference. So going back slightly to what we were saying about only working with the rich, if you're a busy professional with a big job, or you travel a lot, or you work overseas, planning a wedding is an even bigger task. So if you physically can't find the time to research, meet suppliers, and pull these details together, then a wedding planner is going to be right for you. So, we pay professionals for jobs we can't do, right? So you're hiring a wedding planner is going to mean you're not taking time off work or not going to interfere with your life. Then it's money well spent.
Cool. Absolutely agree with that one. Okay. And the last commonly held belief, couples don't need wedding planners because they can learn everything they need to know about planning their wedding on the internet.
Yes. Yep. They can read all sorts and know how to plan their wedding, and they can download all the checklists. But those checklists are not going to be physically there with you on the day. And those checklists and guides won't know the best suppliers in your area and invest time to listen to you and what is important to you both.
That is so helpful, Caroline, and it really clarifies to me and hopefully people listening about what a wedding planner actually does. What you're saying is they do bring a lot of value to anyone planning a wedding. Over the years, a bit like me, I bet you've met all sorts of people and hosted a really wide variety of celebrations. So can you share with us any of those which are particularly memorable for good or bad reasons?
Gosh, Lisa, that's a question and a half. Do you know what? I there's probably nothing that I would say that's massively bad in weddings. I find the people probably make a wedding for me. So, there's always going to be that one guest that you've got to watch, the one that drinks a little bit too much, or there's always a little bit of family politics involved, which you have to deal with on the day. But, on the whole, they're fine. Nothing happens. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think you're being very diplomatic. Okay. Just thinking about when we work together, and we've been doing this for a while now, and particularly when we're at Baconian, I find it so easy. And I'm talking about as a professional celebrant, because it's just wonderful when everything runs like clockwork. And that's because we work together, you know what I need, I know what you need, and we're kind of so used to these roles that we still have a laugh and we can joke about things. And I think I said to you last time we worked together, we're having far too much fun to be at work.
We do.
Which is great. And so that is because we've worked together and we're quite similar. But I know it's because you're an excellent wedding planner. So could you tell me, what do you think are the attributes or skills that a wedding planner really needs to be successful?
Oh, well, thank you very much. I think enjoying your work is so, so important. And I think wedding planning, it's not easy and it isn't for everyone. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people that plan their own weddings and they think, oh my God, that was so much fun. I just want to do this for a living. But, the hours are long. The admin is insane. You're away from your families, it's out of hours, you travel, the pressure of planning the biggest day of someone's life. So you have to enjoy it and you have to be super passionate about it. I think a good wedding planner needs to have great organisational skills, good communication, definitely a team player, definitely problem solving and thinking on the spot, people skills. You have to put the parents, the couple and the guests and suppliers at ease and multitasking. And you're often working on multiple weddings at one time. And you have to make each couple feel as if it's their only wedding that you're working on. And you're giving them the time that they need, which is crucial. But I think most of all, it's confidence. I think a lot of people put their trust in you massively. And I think the hardest part of a day is dealing with kind of guest expectations and things that happen out of the control. The bits that you haven't planned when, the weather, something might happen with the weather, or you might lose power, a supplier has an issue. So for them to put their trust into you is key.
Yeah. I think a couple of the things you said there about communication and confidence in particular, they do remind me of a planner I worked with at some point, and there just wasn't the communication. So that you send everybody an advance schedule. We didn't have that. On the day, she wasn't really up to speed with what was happening. So I had to ask a lot of questions. The photographer had to ask a lot of questions. The videographer did as well. And I think what that did for all of us was add to a lot of pressure, really. And for me, that's kind of the opposite of what a planner should bring to an event. Do you think that is because, just as it is with celebrants, anybody can set themselves up as a wedding planner, and then that means that sometimes the quality of service, it can really vary?
Yes, definitely. Look, everyone starting their own business has to start somewhere. And wedding planning can seem like a very appealing job, especially when you planned your own wedding. You think it's easy. But what they need to remember is experience is key, like any job. So the more weddings that you do, the more you learn. No one wedding is ever the same. So what I would say to anyone starting their own business is not to be impatient. Get involved in the industry and learn. You can't run a wedding until you fully understand every single element of each supplier. And yeah, it's frustrating when planners charge a lot less than those of us that are more experienced and been working in the industry a lot longer. But you get what you pay for.
Let us talk about DIY weddings, because I know that you and I have really seen this rise in DIY weddings. And actually, it's great for celebrants looking for work. It's great for planners as well. And when I was starting out, I do remember one I went to, lovely, lovely couple, but I arrived at the location and it was well over an hour before the ceremony. I was quite new, so I was quite nervous. And the couple, they were still in their jeans and their T-shirts, and they were kind of running around, getting everything ready, and they had this beautiful flower arch they were creating, and the bride hadn't even had her hair done, and it was lovely. I mean, it all went fine. We ran a bit late, as you can imagine, but they said to me afterwards, oh my gosh, we so wish we'd had some support with just on the day organisation. My question is, what would you say to somebody when they're kind of like debating whether they need your support or not?
Oh gosh, DIY weddings, eh? Yeah, they're a different level. I do hear this a lot. Auntie Jane's going to be doing that. I don't need to take photos because my cousin's doing that, or my friend is making the cake, or, as we hear a lot, someone's going to officiate for us.
Yeah.
And that's great. If you don't want to be spending loads of money on a wedding, it's a perfect way to keep the costs down and to involve the people in your family. But believe me when I say that not everyone will keep to their word with that. So to all those people that will say, we'll be there on the day to move the chairs and to set up, it's those people that will be stuck at work, their childmind has fallen through, or the ones that are going to come back the day after. I'll help clear away, but they've had too much alcohol the night before and they're nursing a hangover. So what I would say is, do not underestimate DIY weddings. They are a lot of work. You will be shattered afterwards, and you might not even enjoy the day because you're rushing around, and it might seem like a good idea at the time, but when your guests arrive, you're going to want to just grab a drink, catch up, not be tying flowers together and dressing tables. Running a wedding is hard when you don't know how. And that is why we use suppliers, because it's what we do.
Yeah. And that also rings so true. That's exactly what that couple said, 6-7 years ago to me. And I think a lot of DIY weddings since as well. So, Caroline, it has been amazing to hear about all your experiences and insights, and I hope it's been really useful to anyone who's listening. But as we're all about the honest conversations on this show, one final question, and you can leave your diplomacy at the door for this one. what would you say are some of the downsides of working as a planner in the wedding industry?
There's no downsides to it, Lisa. Come on. That's a hard one for me because there's not, in all truth, there's not actually anything that I absolutely hate about the job. I do love what I do, but I guess it's probably, the hours are long. And when you're in the thick of it, in the thick of wedding season, sometimes it's just head down in your laptop. I'm not J-Lo in the film The Wedding Planner. I'm not kind of doing cake tastings, walking around my headpiece. It's not like that. You can miss events at the weekend because, your friends and family are doing things. And also there's an awful lot of emotion with wedding planning. We know ourselves that we've had we've had some couples that have been pretty intense at times. But on the whole, I love weddings.
Well, thank goodness for that. Awesome. Cool. Okay. Thank you so much, Caroline. So now, just to show we are not all about the work, and for a bit of fun, we have got our usual quick fire questions that we ask everybody. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay, question 1. What's the craziest thing you've ever done?
Oh, gosh. I don't really do crazy, but do you know what? I rented my house out, packed a bag, and I went to Australia with no job at home.
That wasn't recently, I'm guessing?
No. That was when I was irresponsible and young.
Awesome. Pretty crazy. Okay, do you have any claims to fame?
Claims to fame. Do you know what I do? So, do you remember Live and Kicking? That's probably...
I do.
My age now.
No.
Do you remember Live and Kicking with Andy Peters?
Andy Peters.
Yeah, Andy Peters. And I think I was about 14. We were on Live and Kicking, the live episode of when we were filming Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I remember it because the boy I was seeing at the time, called Daniel, I wore one of those wooden necklaces with his name on it. So all through the episode, he just kept seeing me wearing his name. And yeah, it was cool.
So what were you doing on this show? Were you singing, dancing?
I was Pharaoh. I was the Pharaoh. So we were in a dress rehearsal, just putting on the performance. So they just popped up in our rehearsal.
Random. Okay, your next question. Dog or cat?
Dog. Not a fan of cats. I'm sorry.
I knew you'd say dog.
Yeah, dog. I don't see the point of cats, I have to say. I don't. I know you're a cat lover. I know. But I don't get them. Dog all the way.
Right, we're not friends anymore. Okay, next question. Superhero power?
Oh, I think I'd be invisible, I think then I'd find out what everyone says about me.
Okay, next one. Extrovert or introvert?
Oh, extrovert, you know that.
That's why we get on, because I think I'm definitely not an extrovert. We balance each other.
We do.
Okay, now let's come to the all-important bucket list. 3 things on it.
Oh, I've actually ticked off a lot of my bucket list. It's all travel, to be fair. It's probably, if I had 3 things, it would be 3 different countries. But now you're asking which countries they are, aren't you? So I'm just going to say travel, and then that just ticks my 3.
Travel, that's good. Cool. Tell me one thing that instantly makes your day better.
Wine. There's no thinking about that. It's always wine. At the end of the day, it's always a wine, without fail.
Okay. Love it. Favourite place in Cornwall?
So my Rick would laugh at this because my geography is terrible. I couldn't choose one. I love all of Cornwall, but yeah, by the coast, anywhere.
That really doesn't narrow it down.
No, I know. I don't have a favourite place.
Okay. And can you tell me, what are you most proud of?
Oh, business or life?
Either.
Business, I think, would be setting up the boutique with zero investment during COVID whilst going through IVF.
Yeah.
I think. And then with it, if it's life, then obviously I've got to say my boys, because they were all IVF and it took us 7 years to get them. And actually, thinking about it, we were utterly mad because we actually paid for them. So, yeah, I'm not sure if we're blessed.
And finally, tell me about your perfect day off.
What's that? A day off? What is that? If I managed to have a day off, it would probably be to lay in past 6:30 a.m. Leisurely get up.
Yeah.
I'd have a nice coffee without anyone talking to me. Then I'd probably do some exercise or just do something outside. Get ready at leisure. That never happens. Go for brunch or lunch, glass of wine. Somewhere by the beach maybe. And then I guess you can't really ever resist a bit of a girly catch up with your bestie.
Oh, that sounds like a perfect day off to me. Awesome. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us.
You are welcome.
I've really enjoyed having you on the show. I enjoy having you as a buddy too.
Oh,
so thank you for that. And I hope everyone's had a really good time listening to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Confessions of a Registrar.
So before I trained to become an independent wedding celebrant, I was a deputy registrar and a ceremony officer at my local authority. And I saw quite a lot of weddings which did not go quite to plan. This was partly because you would never know what the full content of the wedding was going to be until you arrived at the office, and that might be an hour before the ceremony. And it was partly for a whole host of other reasons that we might discover in future episodes. This week's confession, it relates to the musical choices for your wedding. Now, the register office will normally ask for your choice of music way in advance of your ceremony. But just as with a celebrant ceremony, sometimes things change. And the big difference, I think, between the two is the flexibility in style and approach. A celebrant, completely flexible. A registrar, not so. This particular ceremony, we were at a register office. The couple, they had all their music. It was downloaded onto their phone. And that was actually quite unusual back then because we worked from CDs, believe it or not. And when we looked at the track on the phone, we realised there was going to be a problem because this was an M&M track. And even with my limited knowledge, I knew it was going to be a bit un-PC and probably a bit sweary. So right at the last minute, the decision was made by the lead registrar that we had to swap out the real Slim Shady for a truly bland track from our copy of Wedding's Greatest Hits. So take heed when planning your ceremony. If it's led by a registrar, your musical taste will be judged. Coming up next time on the Wedding Celebrant Show, I'll be talking to one of my favourite people, who is also a celebrant who I trained with back in 2018 and who is now one of the most popular celebrants in Scotland. Tune in and meet Interfaith Minister Hazel Jane, and we'll be comparing notes on what we wish we'd known starting out. That wraps it up for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Wedding Celebrant Show, brought to you by the team at Celebrant in Cornwall.